to systematically guide their development program. Since the inception of the program, 3,654 young people benefited from the program under the following categories. On conventional internship, 2,477 graduates were placed in relevant functional units within the department. On industrial placement, a total of 457 graduates were placed in various agribusinesses, industry, enterprise to gain business and entrepreneurial development skills. And I want here, Chairperson, to thank our agribusiness industries who have really been helpful in allowing these young people to spend time in their enterprises to learn practically what is being done. On Agri-Export Technologies program, a total of 381 graduates were placed with the Perishable Products Export Council Board to gain valuable experience in export industry. Lastly, the Young Professionals Development Program, a total of 339 graduates were placed with the Agricultural Research Council and other research entities to acquire research skills and further offered bursaries to pursue their master's as well as their PhD program while in this experiential learning. In summary, of the 3,654 young people who participated, 769 secured employment in various sectors during their period of participation. And the others, 236 of those were employed in the department. And I must say that we continue to assist those who have not yet secured employment to be able to do so. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I love the way you are dealing with time, really, I must say that. Thank you. Honorable Ntube, you've got 2 minutes for a follow-up question.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for elaborative response to the question. Some of the young people who have been in the program have secured a permanent employment in the program. Does the department monitor those that have not been successful, and are there means to assist them? Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. You have four minutes to respond to this question.
Thank you very much. I'll be very short, Deputy Chair. Indeed, we do monitor those learners who have been part of the program to see to what extent we can assist them further to be able to secure employment. But others have actually chosen to be self-employed, and therefore they are also assisted by the department. So we do indeed, Honorable Ntube, monitor this program and those candidates who have been part of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Just before I continue, members, I have been informed that there was agreement on the order of how we are going to proceed with the follow-up questions. So I will now give to Honorable Ryder from the Democratic Alliance for a follow-up question of 2 minutes.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairperson. Welcome, Minister, and thank you for your answer so far. Minister, this project is often criticized as being a means of funding ANC Youth League members. Can you tell us what are the qualifying criteria for applicants and how are successful applicants chosen? And give us an indication of the average expenditure to date per successful applicant. Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ryder. And indeed, some of the detailed questions that you are asking in terms of budget, I may not be able to give you now, but I would actually give those to you in writing. I must say that here, this program targets unemployed graduates. When a graduate actually applies to this program, we don't ask any member of their political affiliation because that's not supposed to be. As a South African government, we serve and we should serve all South Africans regardless of their political participation. Our interest is to make sure that those young people who come out as graduates without experiential learning, unemployed, can actually be given practical skills in the different categories that I've highlighted. So they do apply on our learning and training program. They are then screened, and then they are actually informed of their success or not success at a particular point in time. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The follow-up question will be asked by, is it Honorable Apleni from the Economic Freedom Fighters?
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, would you say that the experiential training and internship program is an adequate long-term intervention for alleviating unemployment of youth, women, persons with disabilities? What percentage of participants go on to secure full-time employment? Thank you.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much. Let me answer Honorable Temkosi in this way, that the program, on one hand, is aimed at giving those young people who have graduated a hands-on experience in the industry, in the sector in which they are working. So some of them are actually in the department in the normal course of your interns. The others, we place them in the industry, some of them in farms, some of them in agribusiness enterprises, where we work with commodity organization and participating farming communities who are willing to be part of this program, so that they give these young people an actual practical experience in the workplace, something that is actually, we are not common of doing. Most of the young people, when they come out of university or college, they actually go into employment, and that's where a lot of them start to learn the ropes while they're in the job. So what we do is that this is kind of like a gap program where these young people are prepared for the world of work. And a majority of them, not all, as I've indicated, have been employed in full-time employment. So it does assist us to prepare those young people for employability for the future. It does not deal, or rather address, the long-term employment challenge that we face as a country, but it does intervene in resolving that program in one way or the other by preparing and modeling those young people to be ready for the world of work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The last follow-up will be by the Honorable F. Titoy from the FF class.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, in the introduction notes of the 2011 Experiential Training Internship Policy Guidelines, now this was 10 years ago, it was stressed that there had already been a shortage of skilled professionals and technical staff, and that it was a handicap to the agricultural development in South Africa. Minister, it's a fact that about 66,000 jobs were lost in the agricultural sector in the first quarter of 2020. And previous reports by StatsSA showed that agriculture employment had decreased by 8%. The agriculture employment figures regressed from 869,000 in the second quarter 2016 to 799,000 in the second quarter 2020. Minister, would you agree that the time is ripe to allow all individuals, irrespective of their race, the opportunity to benefit from these internships so as to ensure food security for South Africa and the rest of the continent? Thank you, Minister.
Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Lloyd. Indeed, the intention program of government is actually not discriminating in terms of class, race, or gender. It's actually available for any young participant who want to become part of the internship program. So the answer to you is yes. And it's not yes because it's today, but it's yes because it is a policy program that, in addressing the needs of our society, particularly, as you say, the skill sets in agriculture, we need to actually embrace every South African who wants to go to this sector. And I must say that I was happy today that regardless of the challenges that we've had, at least even on this quarter with the GDP stats that were released, agriculture has still done much better. And I want to thank farmers and farm workers for the good work that they've done even during the pandemic to make sure that we can have food security, but also we can contribute to our economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That just dealt with question number 3. Honorable Minister, We will now come to question number 9, asked by Honorable C.F. Beyer-Smith. And you've got 5 minutes to respond to this question. Over to you, Honorable Minister. Question number 9. Honorable Minister, if you are speaking to us, you will have to unmute. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair. The question raised by Honorable Smith relates to the matters of registration of deeds. I must say that one of the things that we have been doing is to ensure that every registration of deeds that have come to our offices for registration is actually undertaken, and it's done. I must say that during the lockdown, we have had certain challenges because of the closure of our offices as a result of containing the infections. So we had a backlog in that regard, which I must say we've been able to address. There has been an issue, and I wouldn't know because it has not been disclosed on the question, whether Honorable Smith relates to some of the challenges with regards to housing units that have been built, not transferred in terms of the government housing program because of the challenges of the deeds that are not yet out. We are working with the Department of Housing to see how best we can deal with those problems, because part of the challenge is that some of those developments were actually done without any proper township establishment, which therefore impact how we can address the issues of dealing with the deeds. Secondly, the other matter of the deeds relates to the issue of restitution cases where people's claims have been resolved, but it took time for their deeds to be registered. And here it has actually been a challenge among government departments, and with the Interministerial Committee on Land and Agriculture, we are now able to fast track those processes between Public Works, National Treasury, and the department in order to address the challenge of the deeds. With regards to the third question, whether I consider properties such as the one in Mecklenburg being Fitahomos Kukuni as prime example of government's land reform program, I must say that the Mecklenburg doesn't fit the question directly in terms of what has been asked to us by Honorable Smith. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Smith, you can ask a follow-up question for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. I appreciate the opportunity. Honorable Minister, will you today agree to the fact that properties like this in tribal and communal areas that do not have a title deed and an individual owner deny government the opportunity to collect much needed revenue for service delivery and creates a gap for tax evasion and money laundering, as well as hiding the profits from crime like corruption? Will you commit to start the process of correcting this by ensuring that every South African has equal property rights that include individual title to their residential and business property? And I'm referring to the property behind me, as you can see there. Thank you.
Honorable Didiza, you may respond in 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Is it Bayers who's taking the follow-up question?
Beyer-Smith. Beyer-Smith.
Thank you very much, sir, for the question that we have asked. Indeed, it is our interest that every South African must have a secure tenure right on the land that he or she is in. And I think it's important for us because the question you are raising, Honorable Smith, relates to the question of the tenure system that our country has. Yes, there has been many proponents who are saying it is important for us to have a titling program where every South African has a title to their land individually, or if they decide to have that as a group, they can have that collectively as a group. But you would know that in communal areas, this is the area where we still have got customary rights that are not codified in law, though they are accepted as under trusteeship of the state. They are not yet, that's one actually issue that we have not concluded. And I'm confident that we will be able to deal with that issue, because already there has been issues that have been raised in terms of working on the policy and the legislation, working together with traditional communities and traditional areas on how best we need to deal with this issue in South Africa, where you have, two tenure system, where you have got freehold on one hand and you have got customary tenure on one hand, which is not recognized by financial institutions as a secure tenure system, for instance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Honorable Smith. The next question will be from the Honorable T.B. Matibe of the African National Congress.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair, and take this opportunity to thank the Minister for the elaborate answer on the question. Honorable Minister, we need a reconfigured system of land tenure which ensures that all South Africans, especially rural blacks, have reasonable access to land with secure rights in order to fulfill their basic needs and productive livelihoods. My question as a follow-up is that, is the department satisfied that all land reform beneficiaries have title deeds evidencing ownership as per the Deeds Register Act of 1937? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Matibe. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chairperson. Indeed, I agree with Honorable Matibe on the reflections that he has made on the matters of tenure reform. I want to say to Honorable Matibe that with regards to beneficiaries of land reform, particularly restitution, yes, they do have their title on the land. The ones on redistribution, similarly, yes, they do. But when there was a change of policy on a long-term lease, that's where we are still experiencing a challenge. Not all of those who have been given allocation of state land have actually received their leasehold. And it's a matter that we are speeding up, because that 30-year leasehold does allow people to be able to develop their enterprises, particularly in the communities where they are. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next question will be asked by Honorable Ngwezi of the Inkatha Freedom Party. Over to you, Honorable Ngwezi. You've got 2 minutes. Babu Ngwezi, if you are not on the platform, we will have to continue. And we will now then give to Honorable, is it Brenda Matibula of the Economic Freedom Fighters? Brenda Matibula.
Nakensa Shanda Sham Tamashtul. Minister, do you believe that a Western colonial mindset-driven approach to land and property ownership, such as titling of all land and property, especially in rural areas, will have a positive impact on poverty alleviation? Nakensa, Chair.
Thank you very much. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. I must say that this has actually been a question of debate, not only in our country, but also even in some countries such as Kenya, where they opted for a titling program across the country. It has actually been bedeviled with a number of challenges, where once people are mortgaged and they have actually utilized their pieces of land as collateral, Some of them, when they are not able to pay, they then become landless. And I think the beauty of the customary tenure system in some jurisdiction, and I think looking at those jurisdictions and ourselves, has been that even if you have lost your right to the property you have in the city under the municipal, whatever, you can go home, emakhaya, kokwenu, you've got a piece of land. But I think the challenge that is emerging, which we must also address, is how do you give the independence to traditional communities to be able to develop their lands, their properties, and at the same time, collectively be able to share the collective rights as a community. That's what, in my view, our tenure policy must address, and look at what is a system that would allow for economic use and development at the same time protecting the landlessness of our communities. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We are continuing. And the next question is question number 4, as asked by Honorable Winnie Ngwenya. And Honorable Minister, 5 minutes for response. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The question that has been asked by Honorable Ngwenya relates to what the department is doing to improve the livelihoods and safety of farm workers. I must say that the department has been working with the Department of Safety and Security to really come up with a rural safety strategy that also includes mediation, so that we're able to address the challenges that farm workers have with the landowners and their employers, particularly where some of these disputes end up with eviction orders and render our farm workers landless. And I think this is a matter that we are actually engaging our farmers as well as landowners, so that when we deal with issues of farm workers, we actually are sensitive that this is a cornerstone of development in supporting the growth in the agricultural sector. But also we have decided to make sure that we intervene not only through legislation, which is there, the Extension of Security of Tenure Act, but also we deal with support to farmers farm workers by supporting their children. The department has adopted a total of 14 farm schools that host children of farm workers in 6 provinces in Eastern Cape, Free State, Gauteng, Limpopo, and KwaZulu-Natal and Northern Cape. Since the inception of the program, a total of 196 learners benefited from the department's farm school bursary program. Through this program, learners are offered a comprehensive high school bursary from grade 10 up until they complete their tertiary education. The bursary covers tuition if a learner is registered at a fee-paying school, textbooks and study guides, boarding fee if applicable, and uniforms. Of the 196 learners supported, 86 have actually enrolled for various programs in agriculture at tertiary level, and 36 of them have already completed their undergraduate studies in agriculture. In terms of the safety of the farm workers, as I've indicated, we are working with the Rural Safety Forum led by the Department of Safety and Security. We also want to indicate that communication platform with farm workers to communicate our initiative. We do use Izimbizo meetings and summits to ensure that we are concerned, we are also hearing what are the difficulties that farm workers experience and be able to address those with the landowners, for instance. I know this may not be enough, but it's some of the interventions that we are engaged on as a department in improving the livelihoods and safety of farm workers. Thank you very much, Honorable Ngwenya.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Ngwenya, you've got 2 minutes for a follow-up question.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. Ngiyabonga ngqongqoshe ohloniphekile ngempendulo yalombuzo umbuzo kangqongqoshe ohloniphekileyo ubuzwa ngenxa yenani elikhulayo lezingozi ezibandekenya abasebenzi basemaplazini abathuthelwa emaplazini ngezimoto ezingekho emthethweni ezingagculisi. Ngithanda ukubuza Mongameli Minister ukuthi wenzani umnyango ukunqanda ukusetshenziswa kokungemthetho kwezimoto ezingalungele ukuba semgwaqweni eziya emaplazini ngaphandle kokungabi semgwaqweni. Lokhu kuphinde kwehlise isithunzi sabasebenzi abasemaplazini kube sengathi bayizimpahla beminyaniswa ngemuva kwezithuthi zokuthutha izimpahla phecelezi ama-truck. Ngqongqoshe, ngiyethemba uzovumelana nami uma ngithi kumele umnyango wokuthutha ungenelele futhi wenze ubulungiswa ngalesi simo esibi abantu bakithi abasebenza ngaphansi kwaso. Iminyango yokuthutha nowolimo kumele ibambisane ukuxazulula ilesi simo. Umthetho sisekelo waseNingizimu Afrika awuvumelani nokuthi abantu bakithi bahanjiswe ngezimoto ezingekho emthethweni. Ngiyabonga Minister.
Ngiyabonga Mike. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Kakhulu Ngihloniphekile uMama uNgwenya ngalo mbuzo olandelayo embuzweni wakho wokuqala, ngoba impela kuloko kushoyo ngeke kube khona ukuthuthuka okuphelele uma ngabe abalimi kumbe abasebenzi basemaplazini besaphatheke ukuhlukunyezwa yilabo abangabaqashi babo. Ngiyavumelana ke nawe ukuthi kubalekile ukuthi umnyango wami kanye nomnyango kaNgqongqoshe wezokuthutha kanye nomnyango wezemisebenzi sihlalisane phansi sixoxe kanye futhi nabalimi ukuthi senze njani ukuthi izithuthi ezihambisa abasebenzi zibe sezingeni elifaneleyo. Akumnandi ukubona esike sakubona ukuqala kwe-lockdown lapha e-Western Cape uthola ukuthi kuthe uma kugingqika even baba baningi abasebenzi abalimalayo abanye baze balahlekelwa izimpilo zabo. It can indeed not be acceptable that farm workers are actually treated unfairly in such a way that the mode of transport that they are being subjected to use is not of standard, but also it does not even respect our regulations as a country in terms of transportation of people or even goods. So I agree with you indeed, Honorable Member, that this is a matter that the Departments of Labor, Transport and Agriculture must address, working with the farm workers and the farmers in this instance. I must say that I would like to thank the NGOs that have been very active in this area, such as the rural farm workers, rural women, I can't remember exactly how you call the name of the organization, but it's based in the Western Cape. And there's also another gentleman, Mr. Billy Klassen, who have been very active in actually bringing to our attention some of these gross injustices. And I must also say, I thank the members of the NCOP in their constituency work. They've also been able to raise some of these issues with the minister, and we've been able to address some of them. But I agree with you, you need a collective response that also take into consideration a legal framework. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Next will be follow-up, Honorable Klute, ABC. You've got 2 minutes.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, for answering these questions. My question now is quite simple. I would like to know whether your department has purchased PPEs for especially farm workers. And if so, I know you won't be able to give me numbers right now, but how were they distributed among farm workers?
Over to you, Honourable Minister. 4 minutes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Klute. Indeed, as we indicated, both in the NCOP and in the National Assembly, part of that amount that was given to the department at the start of the lockdown to address the issues of food security as well as safety, we did procure PPEs for farm workers. We worked with farm workers themselves, and also with the MECs in the provinces for the distribution of such PPEs to the farm workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable, is it Mutamai? Over to you. Kenny Mutamai.
Minister. Thank you, Chair. Ruling minister. Batho ba rona ba tshwere jaaka makgoba ba patelwa ka di-wine ga ba fiwe gape ga ba lwala ga ba fiwe ditšhelete tsa botsofe ko dipolaseng tsa mabulo le etsa jwang gore le thuse batho ba rona mo mathateng a jwang.
Honorable
Minister, did you get the question?
Unfortunately, I was going to ask for the translation because I am not getting it on my gadget here. And I can
Chairperson.
Can the Honorable Matibula?
Did the minister hear the question? I can repeat it. If
she didn't hear the question, we will appreciate it if you can assist Honorable Matibula with the same question of Honorable Mutamai. Thank you.
Nakensa Chanda Sham Ntamashtur. Minister, year after year, we hear harrowing stories of farm workers and farm dwellers who are treated like slaves in South African farms. Many do not have entitlement to annual leave and paid sick leave, and many more are still paid with wine, especially in the Western Cape. What long-lasting intervention do you think are needed to free farm workers and farm dwellers from the slavery they are subjected to by whites on this farm? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Matibula. Honorable Minister, I think it was clear now.
Yes, thank you very much. And thanks to the honorable member for helping us with the translation. Indeed, one of the issues that, in my view, we need to address is the security of tenure of farm workers so that their work conditions as well as their tenure are not tied together, which always becomes a challenge. So one of the things we need to really address in terms of the Extension of Security of Tenure Act is to deal with the tenure security of farm workers so that they, like any other, go to employment like any worker who seek employment. I think that would be the one long-term intervention that, in my view, can deal with this challenge. But at the same time, we must be able to work with our farmers as well as other landowners who employ people who work in the land, such as the farm workers, to actually adhere to our Labor Relations Act. And in this instance, we are actually engaged with the Minister of Labor to improve their inspections so that we're able to cap these without allowing, this problem to just expand without it being attended. It's very critical that our inspection services don't only end up in the big industries, but also they go to the farms because these are enterprises, these are workplaces for some in our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up will be asked from Honorable Mbulelo Baha from the Democratic Alliance.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister, for your response. But Minister, what alternative transport methods do you propose for farmers to use to ensure the safety of farm workers? And how will your department assist farmers to be able to afford compliance in this regard, as they are already under unreasonable financial pressure due to other failures by government to assure their own safety and livelihoods, as well as all their workers? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Baha. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, and thanks, Honorable Baha, for the question. Really, I think all of us would agree that if you employ any citizen and you actually want that citizen to contribute to the development of your enterprise as farm workers do, their treatment, their working conditions should actually take into consideration what our labor relations provide for all of us, including yourself and me, Honorable Mbaka. It cannot be that our farm workers who actually contribute through their labor in ensuring that we attain national food security, we attain the growth in the GDP, are actually treated in the manner that it's unbecoming. You cannot use an unsafe, unroadworthy vehicle for actually carrying a human being. So those cars, those trucks cannot be. Secondly, you cannot overload those trucks to actually say it is good because you have got other pressures. All other industries, like agriculture being an industry, you actually plan, you look at your cost and see what it is that you need to do to ameliorate the challenges that you face. Therefore, I would say the roadworthy transportation, without it being overloaded in terms of our rules of transport, should be the appropriate vehicles that are actually attending.
Honorable Minister, you are muted. Honorable Minister, yeah, okay. You were muted, so we didn't hear the last part, the last two sentences.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I was actually saying it is incumbent upon farmers as well as other enterprise or other entrepreneurs who are working on the land to provide for safer transport for the workers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That dealt with question number 4, was asked by the Honorable Ngwenya. Honorable Minister, we now come to question number 1, as asked by Honorable A.B. Klute. You've got 5 minutes for response to the question. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Deputy Chair, and the Honorable Member who asked the question, Honorable Klute. I want to say that yes, the department has developed mechanism to actually ensure that we limit any form of unfairness and any form of corruption that might be perceived, either the allocation as it's indicated to political elites and government officials. We have actually, after 2019, through the IMC, developed the National Policy on Beneficiary Selection and Allocation. This policy excludes the participation of serving political and government officials and further sets conditions that those serving in accordance to the aforementioned categories will only be eligible for participation in the land reform program on completion of 12 months and 24 months cooling period, respectively. During the beneficiary selection and approval process, there is a mandatory verification process to ascertain that applicants are not political office bearers or public servants in line with the provision of the National Policy on Beneficiary Selection and Land Allocation Policy. For instance, one of the things that we also do is to also check the nationality through running the applicants' IDs through the Home Affairs system so that we can pick up whether the people who have actually applied are South Africans first and foremost. Secondly, we also run it through the program of our PESAL so that we can pick up that the person who has applied is a serving official or a public office bearer. And that's how actually during the COVID intervention, we were able to remove a number of civil servants who had applied through the system, because we are trying as best as we could to be rigorous and ensure that there is no unfairly, allocation of land to those people who do not qualify in terms of our rules and regulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Klute, if there is any follow-up question, You may for 2 minutes. Honorable Chairperson, after that you can please take over.
Thank you, Deputy Chairperson, and thank you to the Minister for some measures that looks to be put in place. But I would like to bore this House for a while with some research. Was done by the University of the Western Cape in collaboration with the Institute for Land, Poverty and Agrarian Studies. And the report was called Elite Capture in Land Redistribution in South Africa. Now, out of the 62 farms it sampled, only 18% of the farms were leased to farm workers, while 82% of the farms were leased to economically powerful and politically connected individuals. In addition, there's a huge loophole for wrongdoing and corruption. Politically connected and economically powerful people have been able to leverage their social networks and access to land and resources ahead of the poor. State bureaucrats and the politically powerful often capture resources in land reform through the soliciting of payment and bribes, so-called double dipping, fronting the imposition of political connected beneficiaries, and bailing out politically connected people. Also alarming is that state bureaucrats have in some cases withheld leases and threatened non-compliant beneficiaries with eviction. Minister, it's not me that says so, it's the research that shows this. And it's clear that what happened on Ivan Kluter's farm is not an isolated incident. So Minister, who is it who should benefit from land reform, and how will it ensure food security and job creation?
Thank you very much. I am indeed aware of the report that you are referring to on the sampling that was done on those 62 farms and the issues that have been raised, which actually, in part, it's what necessitated government to be able to come up with a clearer policy that is understood by everybody on who benefits and how they benefit and how they are allocated, so that there is transparency in the process. Clearly, you've said the issue of Ivan Kluter, which I wouldn't want to deal with in the detail, but it is a tip of an iceberg of the challenge that we're facing in land administration, but also on the behavior of some of our civil service. And I don't want to paint everybody with a brush, but there are those that we need to actually address who are not worthy of being called public servants in their conduct and what they've done in ensuring that our state is actually malayed in the manner in which land reform has been undertaken. Because the purpose of land reform, as we know clearly, it's about dealing with the legacy of our past, ensuring that we address the issue of land inequality in our society and be able to address the needs of those who have been historically disadvantaged in our country in terms of the land access. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Advocate is the chairperson on the platform, or should we continue?
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. We'll now proceed to a question from the DA, Honorable Nana.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, in your response to Honorable Kluter, you touched on Ivan Kluter of Darling, and I will not belabor that point. But also in your response to him, you mentioned an importance to have a clearer policy direction as the department. Can I ask you, Minister, is it now your department's clearer policy to kick long-term successful black farmers off the land and hand it over to an ANC politically connected elite? If not, can you please publicly apologize today to Ivan Kluter, to Mr. Vuyani Zangana from Kwakstad, as well as Mr. John Mabasa, whose family has been on the farm for generations since 1886 around Emelo. And all of these individuals, you don't need to go to Home Affairs to verify whether they're South African or not. They are South Africans, Minister. And this includes many more other black farmers. Your department has mistreated And will you commit to hand back their funds with all the necessary land term security to their land? Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And thank you to Honorable Nana. But if he listened carefully, the issue of Ivan Cluter was actually brought in by the originator of the question. He actually mentioned it, and I also indicated that I will not belabor that point. But what it does, it reflects the challenges that are there in the department in terms of land administration, which we are addressing. And the policy, I reflected on it, and I would invite Honorable Nana to go in our website to actually jot down the national policy on beneficiary selection and allocation, which clearly outlines how the state will allocate land and how the beneficiaries will access those land. And in my view, the issues that Honorable Nana is raising are issues that we have to and we are addressing. On the matter of Zigana, I actually gave a report on what happened in that matter. We're addressing it. Similarly, with the Cluter matter, I've just received a report on what has happened, and we're having remedial action on what should be done, both to Mr. Cluter, to the other company that was allocated. Similarly, dealing with consequence management on those officials who have been found wanting, not just on the Mr. Cluter thing, but on a number of areas where there are irregularities that have been found. And that is why I said there are those within our governance system who actually have done injustice in the way in which public services are projected and are actually received by our citizens. Thank you very much, Honorable Member.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Nyambi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me first start by commending Minister for the detailed response. In agreeing with you, Minister, that the issue of land, it's a very emotive one, and it's an issue that will always raise emotions when dealing with it. As somebody that has been a member of parliament and a backbencher in the past that has got a sense of expectations, what will be your advice and expectations given the challenges when it comes to issues of land transformation, when it comes to members of parliament, instead of just being bystander and criticizing, not providing concrete solution in terms of this very serious emotive issue to the nation and Africa in general? I hope you will assist us so that we can be making that meaningful contribution. Thank you. Otherwise, my later part of my question was covered by your earlier response, but I want an honest advice given the current challenges, Honorable Minister. Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. As public representative, our role is to represent the concerns, interests of our citizens, which we do in a number of ways, by bringing up issues from our various constituencies to the members of the executive, but also to the House for their deliberation. We do so also through the petitions that we bring, but we also do so in terms of the oversight that we undertake as members of the executive, as the members of the parliament, which enables yourselves to measure to what extent our policies and our legislation actually lend to those who they are supposed to serve. And I must say that I found a very interesting cooperation with members of the NCOP as well as the National Assembly. Some of them being members of the committee, of the portfolio committee I have to report to, but some of them not, who will bring up issues to us that my constituency, these are the concerns I've picked up, these are the challenges that, Minister, you must follow up. Some of the issues that we've actually been able to investigate has been brought to our attention by members of Parliament. And I would actually say we need to continue to do so, because as public representatives, all of us, even though one may be in the executive, our first and foremost allegiance should be our constitution and our citizens. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's move on to Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Minister, we know for a fact that most plus farms have been handed over to former NK soldiers, many of whom have zero farming skills, while many small-scale farmers have been thrown from pillar to post by the department. Does your department actually perform a skills audit before handing over productive farms to prospective farmers? And what capacity building interventions do you make when those who are given the land do not possess sufficient skills to farm? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Member. Well, with regards to the preface to the question by the Honorable Member that he knows for a fact, unfortunately, I don't, in terms of the category of persons that he says have been the preferred ones to get the farms as opposed to small-scale farmers. I want to say that indeed, I may not speak of how in the past the department might have been dealing with those issues, but you would recall that when President announced last year in the State of the Nation address, he indicated government's commitment that when we actually allocate the farm to an individual, we will do the verification of the capacity and be able to subject all of those towards training so that we handhold those members to be able to know what they have to do. You do have a category of people in our country who have been operating at a small scale, either in communal areas, who actually do have the experience, but they need to expand in order to be economically and commercial viable. So in terms of the training, that would actually differ depending on the farmer concerned. For instance, a farmer who has been doing livestock in the village know very well what he or she needs to do in terms of animal health, but may need to be assisted on the trade matters beyond the local community, how he or she must understand the national as well as regional and export market. So that may be the kind of training, but a person who has the passion, who has never farmed before, that's the person you actually need to look at. What is the size of the land you can actually give to this individual? How do you train that individual in order for him or her to grow? And that would relate also to young people, because a number of young people who may be coming from university may not actually have any knowledge about farming, but they may have the love and the passion of the sector. So it's important to be able to balance and not actually say, because you know nothing about farming, we're not going to attend to you. Our responsibility is how do we help you to get the technical know-how that will be relevant for the enterprise you want to get into in terms of agriculture. Thank you very much. Chairperson, we don't hear.
The chair is muted.
Chairperson, you are muted.
No, sort that out. We'll now move on to question 11, raised by Mr. CFB Smith and directed to the Minister. Minister?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thanks to Honorable Smith for the question. I just want to say to Honorable Smith, government indeed has done something about the concerns that you're raising in your question. For instance, An evaluation of all the grants that had been given by government starting in 1994 going forward had actually been done, because one of the things that government was trying to do was to look at what forms of support have been given, have they worked, have they had challenges, and that's what resulted into a policy change. Secondly, the land redistribution for agricultural development grant evaluation again resulted into policy change. Similarly, the post-settlement support that was given was also assessed. And an evaluation study was done by the Department Monitoring and Evaluation on Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program and the Recapitalization and Development Program to assess how these have assisted or not assisted farmers, and therefore what needed to be done. I therefore want to say that yes, there has been challenges, but also there have been successes in the various programs that have been undertaken in terms of land reform. And I must say that today I actually read in one of the articles where one of the restitution cases in Bilabila on egg production, working with their mentors, have actually been one of the success stories. I can speak about Ngomane in the Mpumalanga area. So you do have success stories, but you also do have depressing stories in terms of land reform that we need to address. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Follow-up question, Honorable Smith.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you, Honorable Minister. I'm glad that you started looking into the matter. However, I think it's necessary to also acknowledge that, you know, there's unfortunately more failure than there is success in that. So, Honorable Minister, I would also like to know, will you commit today to immediately institute a comprehensive productivity audit of all farms that fall within this category, and advise by when this will happen?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Smith, as much as I would love to do so, but I don't want to put myself into a trap where I speak of the hoof and make a commitment that I cannot meet. But what I can say is that the productivity audit which you're referring to is indeed important, because what it will do, it would enable us to be able to plan, to cost appropriately, and then have a clear project pipeline of what needs to be done at a particular point in time. On that one, I would agree with you. But to commit timelines, no, I won't do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's move on then to Honorable Zandamela.
Thanks, Chairperson. Minister, have you done a comprehensive post-settlement needs assessment for all the land reform projects? If so, what are the basic requirements needed for these projects to prosper? And what are you doing to make sure that all the support needed is provided? Thanks, Chairperson.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Member. The analysis that have been done has actually not been conclusive in terms of all the past projects that were undertaken in terms of land reform. With respect to the state land allocation that was announced by the President, we've actually done that analysis in all of these farms. And I must say that it is one of the things that I can say basic for any farmer and any farm to be of success. You do need on-farm and off-farm infrastructure. For instance, you do need to fence your farm. You do need to have your windbreakers or fire breakers wherever you are. You need to understand what is the water capacity in that farm, so that if a farmer chooses to go on crop production, you can see whether it's irrigable and how much is the quantity of water there is there. You also need to indeed to have a place to keep your animals. If you are keeping the animals, you do need to have the house, because otherwise where will a farmer stay? If that farmer is not in the proximity of the farm, you will need a property there. So I can say that the basic farm infrastructure that is required for any commodity is key to be able to have those farms successful. Thank you very much, Honorable Member. And once we have done some of that work, I must say that we will come back and have an engagement with the Portfolio Committee in the NCOP. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Minister. The next question will come from Honorable A.B. Klute.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. You know, this is an important question because the land reform debate and who owes what is being portrayed as a one-sided approach where some are to be regarded as the aggressors and the rest is the oppressed. But the reality, in reality, it's not. Let me give you an example. In the Free State, the Machabeng local municipality owes Eskom a lot of money. Now, as part of the payment agreement with Eskom, the municipality offered 139 farms as security. So we have a municipality who can offer 139 farms as security to Eskom. Now that possibly makes them, as an organ of state, the biggest landowner in that district. Also, not many land or many commercial farmers have that security to give. So my question is, what is the municipality doing with 139 farms while those farms could be made available for food security? And is it a good idea for municipalities to own so much land?
Honorable Minister.
Klute, I think I need to visit Machabeng. I must be honest that as you were,
you should.
I was like, wow, I hope those are not part of the farms of the beneficiaries of land reform that have been used as collateral for such. But I must undertake that one will actually engage with the municipality so that we further understand the issue that you have raised. I cannot actually sit here be able to answer you in a much more convincing way, because I would also need to do my research. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Let's move on to Honorable BB. Maybe.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Sihlalo ngokunginikeza leli thuba. Ngibonge nakumhlonisho womnyango ukuthi impendulo cha uphendule kahle. Engifuna nje uqala ngako kusho ukuthi akulona iqiniso. Futhi ungamampunge ukuthi uhulumeni akenzanga lutho. Ngisho kunina ke bontaba kayiphonjwe. Ngoba kusukela ngo-1994 kube noshintsho olukhulu kumthethomgomo ukuhlonza izinkinga. Ngakho-ke ngicela ukubuza-ke Mhlonishwa ukuba ingaba uhulumeni unazo yini izinhlelo zokungenelela ekubuyisweni komhlaba na? Nokuthi yikuphi ubunzima ahlangabezana nabo? Ngiyazi uthe ukuthinta kancane, kodwa bengifuna ukuthi ungene kakhulu ukuze bezwe kahle ukuthi uthini. Ngiyabonga Sihlalo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Sihlalo. Ngibonge futhi nakulunga ehloniphekile ngombuzo danezincomo azishoyo ukuthi yebo kusukela eminyakeni yo-94 ukuya ngaphambili kuningi kona esikwenzile. Mangisho nje futhi ukuthi indaba yomhlaba yindaba enzima ngoba izama ukuthi isikhumbuze la sivela khona okungesilo-ke imuva elimnandi kakhulu ngoba sasihlukumezekile. Yingakho kufanele ukuthi siwuphathe kahle futhi lolu daba siliphathe kahle kuhle kwezikhali zamantungu. Ngoba singeke sikuphike ukuthi uma kusekhona kuleli likaMthaniya abadla izambane likapondwe abanemhlaba eyindathane kukhona igcunsana elingenalutho, isimo sezombusazwe asihlaliseki kahle. Yingakho nje lolu hlelo lokuhlengahlengiswa kwendaba yomhlaba lubaluleke kakhulu. Kodwa-ke futhi kusebebe yichilo uma ngabe sekukhona ezinye izinto esizithola athi ziyenzeka ukuthi le mihlaba ingaphatheki kahle, iphatheke budedengu, uthola ukuthi namalunga omnyango ethu amanye ayathinteka ngokungaziphathi kahle, ngokuthi bese behlukumeza labo bantu okuyibona engabe kufanele siyabasiza. Kodwa mangisho lunga elihloniphekile ukuthi yize kunjalo akulahlwa mbele kungakufela. Kufanele siqhubeke nje kulomshikashika ukuze ukuthi ngelinye ilanga sisonke kuleli lengabadi yaseNingizimu Afrika singaba ngabanini mhlaba, kuthi ubuzwe bethu sibuze ukuthi cha bubuyile ngobe nami sengikhomba ngophakathi. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much, Minister. The next question is a question on the presidential employment stimulus from Kisi Mudise to the Minister of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. The Minister will respond and is on virtual. The reason really being that she has undergone a minor medical procedure. So we'll proceed to the Minister. But as we do so, let us thank the Minister. Sorry, it's me making a mistake. Honorable Didiza, please respond to question 5. And the question of the Minister of Forestry will raise later on. Thanks, please proceed.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu mphathi sihlalo, ngibonge nakulunga elihloniphekile umama uModise mayelana nalombuzo awubuzile. Ngithanda nje ukuthi ngingakawuphenduli ngindlalele ukuthi sithokoze kakhulu thina siwumnyango ukuthi umongameli umebheka ukuthi sithuthukisa kanjani ikakhulukazi kulesi simo esiphuma kuso la sisekuso futhi namanje sokuhlukunyezwa kakhulu uCovid, sikwazi ukuthi abasebenzi kumbe abalimi abasafufusayo esibabiza phecelezi subsistence farmers sikwazi ukuthi basizakale, bathole izinsiza zikahulumeni, bagcineke kule misebenzi abakuyo ngoba phela umkhakha obalekile wokuletha ukuthi kungabi khona ukulala kwekati ezini. Yebo ke ngokumemezela kwakhe October imali zeyafika kithi ngoDisemba, so sesiqalile vele kusukela nje kulo leli viki abanye abahlokulile sebezowathola ama-voucher. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and members, and thanks, Honorable Modise, for your question. I must say that this initiative by the President on the employment stimulus is very important, particularly when you look at subsistence farmers, because though they may not be going to work for somebody, they are working for themselves. And therefore, it's about job retention for those subsistence farmers. And for the first time, government has realized their importance in terms of household food security, and the target that President announced was for us to support about 74,656 subsistence farmers. We have undertaken the process of ensuring that we call for application for this category of farmers, targeting women, youth, people with disability, child-headed household, farm dwellers, farm workers, and military veterans for the support. I must say, Chairperson, that we have been very encouraged about the responses that we have received, particularly that we used a USSD platform, which using a small cell phone, even which actually shows the penetration of technology in our society, which can be used for the advantage in order to support farmers. We will be starting this week to issue the vouchers to those who have been successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Follow-up question, Honorable Modise.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good afternoon, Honorable members and Minister. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your response. And let me appreciate the President of the country to initiate this stimulus package program. Indeed, our government led by the ANC is taking care of the poorest of the poor. Honorable Minister, my follow-up question is, looking at the preparatory work that has been already done by the department, is the department satisfied that the program will reach all the targeted group? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Modisa, for your follow-up question. Indeed, we are confident that we will be able to reach the targeted groups that we have identified in terms of the support. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ngwezi. We'll now move on to Honorable Ngwezi of the AFP. There seems to be a problem there. Let's proceed to Honorable SP Lehihi from the EFF.
Mokudutama, balemirui le balemi ba le bantsi ga ba ungwelwe go tswa mo Presidential Employment Stimulus Package ka ntlha ya gore ba go sane le kitso ke lefapha le sa dire dikopano mo metseng le metsesetoropo go tsibusa balemirui. Ke a leboga modulasetulo.
Honorable Minister.
I will ask for some assistance.
Honorable Lehihi, why don't we get Honorable Lehihi just to repeat the question again?
Chairperson.
Yes.
Chairperson, aku bina munhu loyi a translator ani kwala ka NCOP kuna vanhu lava translator if minister va nga yitisisi language leyi lihiya a nga vula
No, we'll sort out the problem and apologize for the inconvenience. But can Honorable Lehihi just please repeat the question?
Okay. Balemirui le balemi ba le bantsi ga ba ungwelwe go tswa mo Presidential Employment Stimulus Package ka ntlha go sa nne le kitso ke lefapha le sa dire dikopano mo metseng le mo metsesetoropong go tsibusa balemirui. Ke a leboga modulasetulo.
It does seem as if there was some problems that are being experienced by the farmers. Is it not possible to get an intervention where these farmers are visited locally and kept informed and abreast about developments?
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thank you for translating for me, and thank you to the Honorable Member for the question. I must say that all the people who have applied, 76,442 of those applicants were actually visited by our extension officers because we wanted to actually prove that these people are indeed working there. We see their production and actually...
Chairperson?
Matebula, on what
Sorry.
point is it?
On a point of order, Chair.
Yeah, what's the point of order?
I think you have translated the question very wrongly. Can I assist you on translating it?
Yeah, but you should have done that the first time you tried. But nonetheless, let's hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. The question was saying, what are the some of the ways in which the department has ensured that small-scale farmers has access of information to Presidential Employment Stimulation Package? Thank you, Chair.
I'm sure the minister would have got that one because it was said in English in any way by Honorable Lehihi. Please proceed, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lihi, for your question, and thank you, Brenda, for your translation. Indeed, we actually made public the information on the Presidential Employment Stimulus Initiative. We announced firstly on all radio stations, community radio stations. We also did on electronic media, which is your television and print media. But also, we worked with our extension officers to be able to share the information with those who were actually the would-be applicants, if I may say so. So when the program was launched, actually a number of farmers did respond by applying. Further, we actually had a verification process where we visited each and every applicant who had lodged their application to be able to know that, yes, indeed, this individual applied, he or she has got 2 goats or 1 goat or farming on the size of a hectare. So we did that. And what we are doing now is actually the verification of those applicants in terms of them meeting the criteria for the program. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes, thank you very much, Minister. Let's move to Honorable Ocamp. The question from Honorable Ocamp, and let's have, let's move to Honorable Ocamp. Yeah. Honorable Ocamp, your question, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. Honorable Minister, our farmers are currently finding themselves in very difficult financial situations. This is due to various reasons, such as rising operational costs, as well as costs due to COVID-19. Almost on a daily basis, we hear of attacks on the people on our farms, and therefore farmers also have got an additional burden to ensure their and their workers' safety on their farms. Another factor putting financial pressure on our farmers is the insecurity of their land due to possible changes to the security of ownership in Section 25 of the Constitution. It is thus clear, Honourable Minister, that there are various factors putting our farmers in extreme financial difficulty. And those factors will have a negative effect on employment in the agricultural sector. My question, therefore, Honourable Minister, is what plans are in place to financially assist our struggling farmers in these difficult times, and what budgets are available to do so? Thank you very much, Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ocamp. Honourable Minister, please respond.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. But Honourable Ocamp knows as well as I do that the question he's asking doesn't arise from the original question. However, I would respond. So I could have taken an easy way and say this question doesn't arise, because indeed it doesn't. But Honourable Ocamp, I agree with you that there are difficulties that agricultural sector, like any industry, is experiencing. One of the things that we experience as the agricultural sector has actually been the challenge in the cost of agricultural finance, but also the challenges that befell the land bank last year was actually a shocker to the system. And I must be honest, we are grateful that Cabinet and the Minister of Finance in particular has actually been able to hear the cries of the farmers by ensuring that we do not leave the land bank to actually collapse, albeit the need for us to actually strengthen and transform the bank so that it does the work that it's supposed to. We've also worked with other financial institutions on a blended finance scheme, where we will, as government, with the participating bank, share the risk in terms of grant and loan to be able to support farmers. And we will be relaunching that blended finance very soon, because it is important to actually appreciate that there are challenges in our sectors of the economy, particularly even before COVID and during COVID, which we must continue to address. And the interventions the president has put on how we can recover our economy and build better as we go, living through this pandemic is actually appreciated. And I'm sure that these interventions that I've just raised will be able to assist farmers in one way or the other. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Let's just double check again whether we have Honorable Ngwezi from the IFP. Honorable Ngwezi? No, thank you very much. We'll then proceed to the next question. Before we do that, let us just thank the Minister and express an appreciation for her presence, attendance, and contribution in answering our question. Thank you very much, Minister. We'll proceed to question 6. But even before we deal with the question itself and indicate what the question entails, let us extend to the council an apology from the minister. She's had some minor operation, but will be able to respond to the question on virtual. The question is for the human resource capacity of the department, and it's from Honorable T.B. Mative to the Minister. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, and thank you very much to Honorable Mative for the question. The Constitution of our country allocates the duty to undertake compliance and enforcement of environmental legislation to all 3 spheres of government, and the National Environmental Management Act of 1998 provides for the delegation of environmental management inspectors who are officials from national, provincial, and local environment and conservation agency authorities. And these officials are accorded a wide range of legislative powers, which enable them to execute their constitutional mandate. Our department is therefore only one of several regulatory authorities that have environmental management inspectors under our ranks. As of March 2020, there were a total of 3,661 EMIs designated across the country, with 3,240 being employed by national and provincial spheres of government and 421 being employed by local authorities. Of these 3,240, 71% or 2,332 are field rangers who operate exclusively within the boundaries of the country's protected area network. In my view, we do need additional enforcement officers and inspectors, but at this stage, Honourable Chairperson, budget cuts make further enlargement of this force difficult. Due to limited capacity available, the Inspectorate has focused on optimizing its collaborative partnerships with other government departments and law enforcement agencies to leverage on the mutual benefits of adopting what we call a whole of government approach. In this respect, we work very closely with officials from other national departments, including human settlements, water and sanitation, minerals and energy, as well as having formal memoranda and memorandums of understanding or standard operating procedures with law enforcement agencies, such as the South African Police Service, the National Prosecuting Authority, and the South African Revenue Services. This collaborative approach is aimed at allowing each regulatory authority to execute its own mandate and at the same time providing mutual support so that we can leverage on common resources in circumstances where these mandates are interrelated. Other initiatives that seek to expand the capacity of the inspectorate is that of environmental and diversity monitors appointed under the Extended Public Works Program. In addition, a forthcoming amendment to NEMA will empower provincial MECs to designate officials from their departments as EMIs to undertake compliance and enforcement work. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Follow-up question, Honourable Matibe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I would like to thank the Minister for a very elaborate response to the question that I've asked. Just to say, Honorable Minister, that during the pandemic, it has been noted that there was increase in certain types of environmental offenses in different provinces and different areas, but notwithstanding the budget constraints, a lot has been done to monitor the compliance. The question that I want to ask as a follow-up is the collaborative effort that you have said being able to assist to cover the gaps that are there because of not having enough inspectors. Thank you very much, Chair and Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Matibe. I think one of the outcomes that we use to measure whether our partnerships are working is the rate of prosecutions and convictions in criminal trials. And I can report to you that in the 2019-20 financial year, the NPA reported a total of 883 criminal trials involving environmental offences, of which 857 resulted in convictions and 26 acquittals. So this translates into a 97% conviction rate. I think that Honourable Matibe, you would also have noted that we have had a number of high-profile cases where there have been seizures, particularly of goods such as rhino horns by the Hawks customs officials and other officials. The biggest recent bust in that regard was in December 2020, where we seized 17 rhino horns weighing approximately 72 kilograms from a warehouse in Kempton Park. So I think it's these kinds of positive outcomes that lead us to believe that in constrained situations, we must enhance and depend on these partnerships. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Let's move on to the question then from Honourable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. Minister, you've just said that you are in need of human capacity. Are you then willing to acknowledge that your department's resources are not being utilized effectively, especially when it comes to holding Eskom responsible for the pollution caused by their coal-fired power stations that are detrimentally impacting on people's health, as showcased by the deadly air Umoya Ubalayo case? Thank you very much, Minister and Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Boshoff. On the contrary, I think that my department has done very well when it comes to implementing both inspections and taking action against Eskom. You would know that we recently had a situation where there were shutdowns of certain power utilities in that area in order to ensure that they complied with maintenance requirements. And we also have a criminal case in this regard taking place at the moment. I don't have the details with me, but if you are interested in that air case, you would of course have read my founding affidavit or my replying affidavit, and there's an extensive list in there of all the measures we have taken to deal with transgressions with regard to air quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Dwight.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, South Africa is a water-scarce country and water pollution is a great concern, and the Vaal River system is under a lot of pressure. Minister, with reference to the Karierand tailings storage facility that will add 380 hectares of the TSF footprint and will approximately be 122 meters high on completion. Now, this is near the Kuma, Stilfontein and Matlusana municipal area in the Northwest Province, and it was stipulated in their own report, in this Karierand tailings report, that the populated runoff will enter the Vaal River system a few kilometers above the extraction point of Midvaal Water Company that provides drinking water to the Klerksdorp, Orkney, Stilfontein and Hartbeesfontein areas. It also stipulates that underground water will be polluted, boreholes, that is the only source of fresh drinking water for the residents of this area. Minister, my question is, did your department have sufficient human resources capacity to tend to the issues raised in the report and maybe did their own investigation on this matter?
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Chairperson, I think that this is a new question, not a question arising. And I think it is a substantial question. And I would want to suggest that I would be very willing to respond to the honourable member if he could submit it as a question for written reply, because I would need to look into the background of the case, who is the responsible authority and so on. But I'm very happy to answer it if he were to submit it to me. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sure Honorable Detroit will do likewise. We'll then move on to Honorable Matebula, who has now an opportunity to raise a question.
Nakensa Motama Stulu. Minister, what are some of the ways in which the department has strengthened its accountability mechanism to curb non-compliance with the existing environmental policies and legislation? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Matebula, for that question. I think that it's a very important question. And I think, first of all, there is the issue of the role of the inspectorate. So when there are complaints about breaches of environmental legislation, we send out inspectors to investigate those complaints and to make reports to us. Once the matter has been investigated, if we find that in fact a transgression has taken place, we would then have to issue a notice so that the relevant offending institution would first of all be able to account for what has happened, and secondly, would be able to inform us what they are doing to rectify the situation. Of course, if they can neither account nor do they take remedial action, we then have the option to fine them in terms of existing environmental legislation, or we have the option to open criminal proceedings. And I think depending on the gravity of the situation, we would then decide what would be the appropriate response. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much, Minister. The next question is question number 13. And this question is on implementation of recommendations. It is from Honorable C. Labuskachne, and it's to the Minister. Minister?
You know, in others, you gave me two of the same.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. In May 2020, following public concern about shark populations along the South African coast, an expert panel was established to formally review South Africa's National Plan of Action for the Conservation and Management of Sharks. The panel scrutinized 60 documents over 3 months and held 8 virtual meetings. The panel's report was endorsed by myself and presented and released to the public in November 2020. The panel provided 5 overarching recommendations for immediate implementation. The full draft action table, which encompasses all of these recommendations and their sub-actions, will be implemented in full in the 2021-2022 financial year. But to date, we have taken some important steps. First of all, we have introduced since November 2020 best practice in handling of sharks for release. This would be sharks that are caught as bycatch. And this best practice has been included in the permit conditions for the lionfish, pelagic, longline, and demersal fisheries. Secondly, we have set up a pilot electronic observer program with the installation of a camera. This is the first pilot program with the installation of a camera on a commercial vessel. Thirdly, we have developed 3D printed synthetic fins to assist with the identification of vulnerable shark species in order that we can commence with widespread training within the industry as part of implementing the shark plan. Fourthly, there is internal coordination and assignment of responsibilities between the department, the branch Oceans and Coasts, and the Fisheries Department. And lastly, we have already implemented a slot limit in the line fishery permit conditions, and this slot limit ensures that only sharks of a particular dimension can be caught, and this prevents overfishing of juveniles that would not yet have reached maturity and reproductive age. With regard to the roles of provincial and local government, these will be clarified in the consultation process, which forms part of the revision of this plan. And we have already got the report ready to be presented to MINMEC and MINTEC. These would be the bodies where provincial and local governments are represented, and these bodies have working committees, so that process has already begun. And you would understand that overall fisheries and oceans management is a national function, but where we can coordinate, for example, with the Sharks Board in KZN, this is what the consultation would be about. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
Minister, will move on to Honourable Labuskachne. A follow-up question. Honourable Labuskachne. It doesn't seem like Honourable Labuskachne is there. And that being the case, we'll move on to other follow-up questions, starting with Honourable Arnold.
Chairperson.
Thank you.
Chairperson.
Okay, let's start with Labuskachne and then Arnold. Labuskachne.
I'm so sorry, Chair. I had a little bit of a problem. Thank you very much, Minister. As you said, you endorsed these recommendations in a speech that you made in November 2020. And and thank you for the detailed response that you gave. I just want to ask specifically on the urgent or on the findings that was according to this report for immediate implementation. And I want to focus on the recommendation 4. They gave 5 recommendations that they thought should be immediately implemented. And I want to focus on recommendation 4 that says stronger focus on illegal, unregulated and unreported fishing and improved monitoring of surveillance and enforcement of compliance. Now, what I want to know is, does the department have the resources to execute this recommendation, especially with the reducing role of the defense the department can play in light of their extreme budget cuts? Or did you prioritize this issue in the medium-term budget? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Labuschagne. I think that this issue of dealing with unregulated and illegal fishing is one of the major concerns that one would have with regard to fisheries in general. And it's not confined to the fishing of sharks. And I think that one would really feel very strongly that this is a major threat to the sustainability of our oceans and the sustainability of our food stocks. We have something called the Operation Phakisa 5 initiative, which has been particularly focused on preventing illegal fishing of West Coast rock lobster and abalone. I think that we have developed a very sophisticated system whereby we can track vessels entering into our waters illegally. But the major concern at this stage would be vessels that would be coming from the shore and would be entering into illegal activities. So it is our intention as we review this whole process and as we tighten up on the whole management of the shark plan to include this area, because I think that we are very mindful of the fact that, first of all, we have a legal industry here. And secondly, that we also have a tourism-related industry where people are doing shark cage diving. And we would want to ensure that the stocks are sustainable to allow both of those industries to survive. And we want to make sure that neither of the competitors in the illegal space can chase them out of business. But I think that what is more important is to deal with the bycatch issue in the legal fisheries. Because I think this is where we are finding the most serious challenge. And that is why it's going to be, that's why we've started looking at the issue of the slot numbers, looking at the issue of the identification, and also looking at the protocol for release, so that where these creatures are caught by accident as bycatch, as many of them as possible should be put back. Thank you very much. We can't hear you, Honourable Chair.
That, Honourable Arnold.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to the Minister. The panel of experts expressed concerns regarding the management and the protection of sharks, including widespread reports of illegal, unreported and unregulated shark fishing that poses long-term risk to biodiversity, species survival and then also to the sustainability of law-abiding fishers. Now, Minister, my question is, do we have the human and financial resources to protect our endangered species? If not, how can stakeholders assist government in this regard? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Arnold. And I think that I partially answered your question in the response to Honourable Labuskaghni, in the sense that we do need to look at our Phakisa Operation 5 programs and how these can be extended to protecting our shark species. But we also need to understand that the biggest threat to these species is actually happening through the incidental bycatch. And I think that you would have seen that already in the initial measures that we've introduced, we're already trying to deal with this matter. It's very important that vessels that are not intending to catch shark the crew on those vessels need to be educated as to the different shark species. This is why we have been developing all these plastic models so that we can start with training. And it's also important that they follow certain protocols in putting these species back into the water so that they, when they're caught by accident, they don't damage them in such a way that they shouldn't survive. So these are the matters that we are giving attention to. And I think that, as I said to Honourable Labuskaghni, we remain concerned that illegal fishing generally is posing the biggest threat to our fish stocks. And this is where we have been having good outcomes with Operation Phakisa 5 in collaboration with the South African Police Services. And I think that we would want to continue with those partnerships in relation to other species.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Nsube.
No, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I've got a short question here to the Minister. Does the department have any mechanism to monitor the implementation of recommendations of the panel of accept? Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister.
I think what's really important there, Honourable Nsube, is that we are working on mainstreaming these recommendations into the annual performance plan of the department as a whole and into the branches, the Oceans and Coast branch and the Fisheries branch. And I think that it is then incumbent on management to ensure that these recommendations are implemented. But of course, it also gives an opportunity when these annual performance plans are placed before members of the NCOP and the National Assembly on a quarterly basis, that you can also have oversight on the implementation of the recommendations. And I think with that collective responsibility, we should get better outcomes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ngwezi of the IFP. It doesn't seem like Honorable Ngwezi is there. So we will move on to question 7. And this question is on the effects of COVID-19 on job creation program. This is from Honorable Elsie Bebe and is directed to the Minister. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable House Chair. And I want, in replying to this question, to focus primarily on the job creation under the Expanded Public Works Programme and also under the Presidential Employment Stimulus, because that is where we have reliable information to share with honourable members. So honourable members would understand that at the time when the COVID-19 pandemic broke out, our department was faced with 2 challenges. The first was that we had to, like all other departments, surrender money for the battle against COVID-19. And we also had to transfer 961 million from our expanded public works program to sand parks in order that we saved the 4,158 jobs that exist in sand parks, because sand parks gets 80% of its revenue from tourism, and the lockdown meant that for the first 6 months of the year, there was virtually no revenue going into sand parks. So what this meant with regard to the expanded public works program is we initially said we would create 61,000 work opportunities in the 2020-21 financial year, but we were only able to create 44,000 work opportunities. However, we did receive 1.9 billion from the Presidential Employment Stimulus Funding, and as a result, we were able to further expand our job creation process. And this money was sufficient for us to begin the process of setting up 50,000 work opportunities. Now, these work opportunities are in municipal cleaning and greening, in biodiversity, in climate adaptation, in maintenance of infrastructure in sand parks, in the war on waste, as well as in the Isimangaliso Wetland Park, and also work opportunities in our botanical and zoological gardens. So this is still in process, and we have been informed by National Treasury, because we only received this money in the adjustment budget last year, that the money that we have not yet finished spending will be rolled over to the new financial year so that we can complete this important work. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Honourable Minister. A follow-up question from Honourable Bebe.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. I would like to thank the Honourable Minister for the detailed response to the question. And one must say that it is very encouraging to hear from the Minister that despite COVID-19, the department is continuing to save and create jobs. My question, Honourable Minister, will be, what is the contribution of the private sector in creating these jobs? I thank you, Chairperson.
No, thank you very much. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Bibi. Honourable Bibi, you would understand that we have significant involvement with the private sector in the fishing industry, in the forestry sector, in the biodiversity sector, and also in the oceans economy. And last year, when the lockdown happened, one spent considerable time meeting with civil society and the private sector to understand the impact of the lockdown on these sectors, and also to work together with the sectors to find ways to prevent job losses. I think we all know that the tourism sector, the private tourism sector, has been extremely hard hit. And we know that my counterpart, the Minister of Tourism, has also looked at relief measures for micro enterprises to enable them to weather the storm. I think that the fishing industry was really the industry that successfully managed to retain the most jobs. I wouldn't say that they have been able to create new jobs, but I think because fishing was an essential service, they are the industry, together with forestry, which was also by and large an essential service, they have done more to maintain jobs. But I think we have to honestly admit that last year was really the best we could do was to maintain jobs rather than creating new jobs. And we have worked together with the private sector in our space to try and ensure that jobs were retained as far as possible. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Let's now look at follow-ups and find out if there's any other follow-up that any person wanted to make. If not, we'll move on to the next question. I see it says here DA. DA, I think it's supposed to be Klute.
Chairperson, Honorable Klute, yeah, I'm covered by the minister's answer.
Yeah, you're covered. No, thank you very much. Then it says Ocam.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Yes.
May I proceed, Honorable Chairperson?
Let's proceed.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, thank you very much. In light of the fact that the expenditure on Program 6 of your department, which entails the expanded public works program, it constitutes an average of 43.9% of your department's entire budget over the past 3 years. And in light of the fact that this proportion is estimated to drop with close to 2% over the medium-term expenditure framework, would you agree that relative to your department's total allocated budget, job creation, and especially job creation in the green economy, will not be enjoying as much priority as it did prior to 2021, and that this is incompatible with the President's emphasis placed on job creation during his State of the Nation address of 2021? Thank you, Honourable Minister.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ocampo. I think that's a really interesting question that you've posed. And I suppose it goes back to the issue that Honourable Bibi raised, which is what is the role of the private sector in relation to the green economy. If you look at the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Program, you will see that the green economy is one of the main sectors. And in this regard, we are doing a lot of work around, firstly, the waste economy. We are busy at the moment with Section 18 extended producer responsibility programs for plastic, e-waste, and also lighting waste. We see these programs as being very significant, both in terms of their potential to divert waste from landfills, but also to further support the important industries, the important recycling industries that are run by the private sector in those areas. So I think that going forward, we will actually see a greater role in the development of green industries. I did, when I spoke in the President's debate in the National Assembly, talk about the extent to which the program around renewable energies has had a significant impact over the last few years on job creation. And I think that what we're seeing across the world is, with the development of the reconstruction and recovery programs and a commitment to build back in a more sustainable way, we're seeing that green industries are one of, together with IT, are the two areas across the world where job creation is actually happening. So we are working hard together with our sister departments to make this a reality, because we see this as very important, both in terms of our commitments in terms of climate change and biodiversity, but also to managing very problematic areas such as waste in a more sustainable manner. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. Honourable Lutuli.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, and greetings to everyone. My question is, how much of the presidential employment stimulus was allocated emnyangweni wakho? Nanokuthi ucabanga ukuthi whatever was allocated kanye nalesisabelo esasibekiwe sizokwazi to address some of the job creation challenges umnyango wakho obhekene nakho. Ngiyabonga.
Yeah, presidential stimulus, how much allocated? Will this be able to, will we be able to sustain this over time? Honorable Minister?
Chairperson? Chairperson?
Yes, Lutulia.
It's Honorable Matebola, Chairperson. I'm rising on a point of order.
Yes, Matebola.
Ay, nati translators kwala na kungoba ngwina mi translator kuna.
Well, I didn't quite get the question, but if the question is about translation and related problems, and that we should really have this service in place, I agree with you 100%. And indeed, if this is correctly interpreted and understood by myself, I will really ask the table to attend to the issue. Please proceed.
Okay.
Matebula?
No, I was saying, okay, Chair. You don't listen, Makati translators, Chair.
Yes, okay, thanks. It's a very, very important issue. It really deserves special attention. Honorable Minister?
Thank you very much, Honorable Lutuli, for the question, and my apologies for my linguistic limitations. Honorable Lutuli, overall, we were allocated 1.9 billion of the presidential employment stimulus funding. And to date, we have managed to create 20,000 work of the 50,000 work opportunities, which we were supposed to create. I have indicated that we have asked National Treasury to give us a rollover of the money into the new financial year from the 1st of April. At this stage, we don't have the exact figures that we will be asking for. But I think that it's going to be very important because most of these projects are in the setup stage, and we will then be able to roll them out over the medium term. We have not had an indication as to whether or not we will get further money in this regard. And I would very much like a situation where there is sustainability of this grant, because I think that it is helping to provide opportunities, particularly to women and youth in areas where otherwise there are very, very few opportunities available. So perhaps this is something we can agree on, that we do need to ask the Minister of Finance that these programs need to be sustainable even beyond the current and the next financial year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will then proceed to question 14. This question is a question on nationally determined contributions from A.B. Klute directed to the Minister. Honorable Minister?
It's the question on the NDC. I've got that as question 2, Honorable Chair. Yes. I can answer it. South Africa did not submit its updated nationally determined contribution to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in December 2020. We were together with many countries internationally who are also signatories to the Paris Agreement, who did not submit in December 2020 because of the impact of the COVID pandemic on their processes. So this process of updating the NDC, if you want to make a fresh commitment, which we do want to make, is an elaborate process that includes technical work, extensive stakeholder consultation, and also ultimately processes that will involve public participation. So it was accepted by the UNFCCC that we can submit these NDCs by the time before COP26 in November 2021. To this end, the department spent last year undertaking the necessary technical work, and we do have a draft revised NDC, which is currently in the cabinet process. And once that process is completed, we will put it out for public consultation. And this will enable us to conclude the updating process and submit the updated NDC to the UNFCCC before COP26 in November this year. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. There may be a bit of a problem about how this appears in the document in front of me. The person to make a follow-up then will be Honorable Klute, followed by Christian, followed by Mletsane, and finally followed by AJ Nyambi. So Klute.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. This is to a certain extent concerning, but I do understand there might be some technical issues. But it is concerning, especially in view of the fact that you recently wrote that COVID-19 is a dress rehearsal for climate change response. So it's not going well for the dress rehearsal, Minister. So as you said, alongside India, Indonesia, Iran, Canada, Saudi Arabia, South Africa also did not provide the new NDC plans. But also, according to the Net Zero Economy Index, and the Minister would probably know about this, South Africa continues to show little progress in the decoupling emissions from GDP. So South Africa remains the worst performer in the G20 with a carbon intensity in 2019, with China the second worst performer, both being well above the global average. Now the question, not now, I'll get to the question, but this begs the question, who's holding China accountable? Also compared to China's real GDP growth of 6.1%, it's evident that South Africa sees little economic value for the large amounts of carbon we emit. Now, in order to meet the goal to limit global temperature increase by 2%, some argue we need to cut our emissions by as much as 75% by 2050. That's for South Africa. And some argue that it will need hundreds of billions to do this. Now, Minister, let's go into the money. Funding will be needed to implement these policies by 2050. South Africans are already being taxed with carbon taxes. The question is, where's this money going, Minister? Is it not time that we start looking at ring fencing? And now when you start looking at ring fencing, you need to have the whole PFMA reevaluated. But is it not time that we start looking at speaking to the Minister of Finance and say, listen, we need to have money available to implement what we need to implement by 2050, so we can ring fence that, so that money is being implemented when it's intended, and it doesn't make part of the big global money pool of South Africa.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Klute. I guess this is precisely why the Presidential Climate Commission has been set up, and you would know that the first meeting of the Presidential Climate Commission took place on the 19th of February. All the ministers in the economic cluster, including the Minister of Finance, sit in the Presidential Climate Commission, as well as representatives from business, state-owned enterprises, civil society, and organized labor. And the purpose of the Climate Commission is to say, here we are at the moment in a country where 90% of our electricity is generated by coal-fired power stations. We want to reach a low carbon, climate resilient economy and society by mid-century. What is the pathway to get there? what do we need to do in terms of changing our energy mix, in terms of changing our productive processes? How do we ensure that we will still have energy security? How do we ensure that we will have new technology, and how are we going to finance it? And that really is the work of the Presidential Climate Commission, to identify those pathways and to look at what is available. What I can share with you is that there is considerable finance available in the international space, what is known as green financing, to finance a just transition in a number of countries that are carbon intensive. Part of what we are studying at the moment is what is available, what is it for, what are the terms and conditions of the availability of this money, and how would the private sector that primarily must be transforming their productive processes, how would they access that investment in a way that is affordable to them? So the questions you're raising are very important, and the Climate Commission and a number of government departments are seized with this issue of the just transition, because we have to understand how we get from here to there, and what technology will be required, what changes will be required, what financing will be required, and how we make sure that we get there in a way that does not discriminate against the most vulnerable sectors of our society. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Christian.
Honorable Chair, this is Honorable Labuskaghni. I tried to raise my hand and wrote to you a note. I will take Honorable Christian.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable.
Please do, yeah.
Pardon? Can I continue?
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the answer. I want to know, in light of the Climate Action Tracker Consortium's view that on the 22nd of September 2020, South Africa's actions to keep global warming below 2 degrees Celsius was seen as highly insufficient. Now, given that and the information that you gave us on the nationally determined contributions that we want to resubmit, and the information, which is very important, that you shared on the Presidential Climate Consortium, I would like to know, will the NDCs that's going to be resubmitted before the COP26 before November be aligned with the process of what is going on in the Presidential Climate Commission, and will that be, if they sort of track our actions, will that then be moved from highly insufficient to a level that's more acceptable? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Honourable Labuskaghni, as I said, the technical work has been done. What we will do in a month is we will put it out for public comment. You'll be able to evaluate this yourself. We have agreed that the Climate Commission would obviously want to make submissions on what has been released. I think what's very important to understand, Honourable Labuskaghni, is that our energy generation is one aspect of our CO2 emissions. Other major contributors to CO2 emissions are the transport sector, the industrial sector, the manufacturing sector, the mining sector, and so on. So what you would understand is that this process has to be a process where all emitters buy in to the changes that need to come. And it's why government can't just do this on its own and decide on its own, because there are a whole lot of external actors that are going to have to make commitments and are going to have to make investments. So it's not a simple process, but we think it's really important that this goes out for public comment and everybody involved can hear what scientists and environmentalists think on the one hand about their level of ambition and what they are able to contribute on the other hand. So we are looking forward to that process, and we have reported to the Climate Commission that we're going to engage in it, and they have agreed that they will be part of it too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, when listening to you, you clarified that South Africa didn't contribute last year. And you clarified that there are preparations that are in place this year. Now, I just want to check with you because South Africans are listening as we speak now, just so that they must be at least in the know that this year, contribute come November 26th, we are there, the South Africa is going to play its role and contribute to the climate summit in Glasgow. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Minister.
Yes, Honorable Moletsane. I mean, we obviously don't know yet exactly what form COP26 will be in, but South Africa is committed to participating, and we are committed to working with our fellow African countries on the continent to make sure that all three aspects of the Paris Accord are adhered to. So we want to see ambition on reduction of emissions. We want to see ambition on dealing with adaptation to climate change. And we want to see ambition on commitment to the means of finance and technology for implementation of the changes that are necessary. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Nyambi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to Minister. Minister, sometimes an impression is created that moving to COP26 and this very important mission, the vulnerable, the poorest of the poor, historically disadvantaged, it's left behind. If you can share with us some steps taken by your good selves and the department in making sure that they play their part in making sure that they are not left behind. And sometimes we get a sense that we tend to forget and make it a domain of some selected few that advantage in terms of many things. Thanks, Honorable Minister.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nyambe. I think when we talk about a just transition to a low carbon, climate resilient economy and society, inherent in that concept of just is the concept that in all transitions, there are winners and losers. And I think what we understand is that if you look at our current energy generation, we know that already there are power stations in Mpumalanga that are due for closure by 2025 and 2030. We are currently working with Eskom on a proof of concept project on Komati Power Station. So we're looking at how could you convert that power station to alternative use? How could we make sure that in doing that, you save existing jobs? How can you create alternative industries in Mpumalanga, industries that would not be dependent solely on the coal value chain? And how do you understand the issue of the future of work in a low carbon economy and society? So these are, when we spoke about the role of the Climate Commission, I think one of the big concerns of organized labor in that commission is how are we going to ensure that we protect current jobs, that we create future jobs, and that we ensure that down the line, young people are being trained and developed so that they can fit into the future of work in this low carbon economy and society. So these are fundamental issues to a just transition. It can't be just if those who are most vulnerable are the ones that are going to carry the burden of this transition. So it's a very important issue that both all of the participating departments and also the Climate Commission would have to address. Thank you, House Chair, Honourable Chairperson.
No, thank you very much. The next question is question 14 on illegal sand mining. This question is from Honorable Labuschagne and is directed to the Minister.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson. Our department is aware of widespread illegal sand mining that is taking place. My apologies. There is aware of illegal sand mining that is taking place in KwaZulu-Natal. Although mining activities and the enforcement actions in relation thereto fall within the mandate of the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, our department has been supporting this department in both KwaZulu-Natal and the Eastern Cape. Together with the South African Police Services, we have been conducting joint operations targeting all environmental transgressions within the 4 coastal provinces under Operation Phakisa Initiative 5. A number of these operations during 2020 focused on illegal sand mining, and we are working actively with DMRE in planning and executing these operations. We participated with other departments, which include water and sanitation, economic development, tourism, and the South African Revenue Services, the State Security Agency, and the South African Police Services. From July 2020 to date, we planned and executed 7 operations targeting illegal mining, and several arrests were effected, and a total of 9 case dockets were registered. With regard to question 2, the Department of Minerals and Energy is a permanent member of the Compliance and Enforcement Working Group under Operation Phakisa Initiative 5. Ongoing discussions take place in this forum, and joint operations are continuously planned and executed. We also meet regularly at Deputy Director General level, as well as through an interdepartmental project implementation committee, where these matters are discussed at a strategic level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Labuschagne.
Thank you very much, Minister. As you know, SANBI has revealed that our country's freshwater ecosystems are being compromised by various factors, like over-extraction and water pollution and toxins and all those things that you are well aware of. And that as a result thereof, our rivers and wetlands and many of the species within them count as most of the threatened ecosystems and species in our country. Added uncontrolled further damage causing activities such as this illegal mining will further change and destroy these ecosystems and the livelihoods of the surrounding communities. Minister, as you are, clearly explained, the enforcement role is with the Department of Mineral Resources. My question to you is, are you willing to prioritize a national monitoring and standardization program to ensure that sand mining in riverbeds and lakes do not exceed the natural process of resupply of sand from upstream? Or does something like that already exist that I'm just not aware of that? Thank you.
Minister?
I think that there are two, what I was explaining to you is there are two places where we coordinate our work with the Department of Mineral Resources and also Water and Sanitation, because obviously they have a deep concern about pollution of our drinking water supply. So the first would be in the Compliance and Enforcement Working Group, and the second would be in the Interdepartmental Project Implementation Committee. So in the one, that is where we identify where illegalities are taking place and we plan joint action. And in the other one, we discuss at a strategic level the kind of concerns that you are raising that arise from the Sandby study. And we look at all-rounded mechanisms that can help us to better protect our river systems. So I think that we are already actively engaged in this whole process. You know, if I can just give you an idea of the operations that took place. The 10th to the 15th of July last year, we were dealing with illegal mining, sand mining in central eThekwini. On the 17th of August, we were working in the Umgeni River. On the 10th to the 11th of September, we were working at Reservoir Hills, Ohlange River, Mvoti River, and Kwadabeka. 22nd of September to the 5th of October on the south coast and the north coast. 9th to the 23rd of November, south coast and central Durban. And 7th to the 22nd of January throughout the KZN coast. So you can see that we do have sustained and ongoing operations that are taking place.
No, thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Ngwetsi, not on the platform. Honorable Arnold.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honorable Minister, we all know that illegal sand mining causes considerable environmental risk to surrounding communities. And you have mentioned now the joint operations and the fight against illegal mining. But can you just tell us, Minister, how confident are you that the environmental management inspectors, in terms of the fight against this environmental risk, how confident are you that they are winning against illegal sand mining? If not, why not? If so, why are we seeing an increase in illegal mining? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Arnold. I think that one of the things we know about illegal sand mining is that it's actually a highly organized operation, and that in many instances it does involve syndicated crime. So it's not just somebody who decides to go and get a little bit of sand for a personal building project. And I think that this is why we're working on sustained and repeated operations in KwaZulu-Natal and in the Eastern Cape, where a lot of the operations are happening in very pristine and environmentally sensitive areas such as Coffee Bay, Mpansana, and Port St. John's. We've actually been working on blocking the access roads because obviously if you want to engage in these activities, you've got to take trucks down and back. So I think that we are, as I said, we're not primarily responsible for this. Primarily it is DMRE's responsibility, but we are actively involved with them, and we believe that ongoing and sustained operations are the only way in which we are going to interrupt this nefarious activity.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honorable Modise.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and thanks for the Minister for her response. Honorable Minister, my follow-up question, has the department been able to identify the reason why this is only problem in a certain provinces? Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Honorable Minister.
Well, I suppose it is a problem in provinces where you have large communities residing alongside coastal areas that are largely undeveloped. I think it's very difficult in a highly tourist intensive area to be wielding heavy trucks onto the beach without somebody seeing you and intervening. Whereas you would understand that in a number of rural areas in KZN and in the Eastern Cape, you would have very pristine stretches of beach where there would not necessarily be tourist infrastructure conducting oversight on a regular basis on those beaches. But I think it's also, you know, we have to understand that there are high levels of unemployment across our country, and particularly people are suffering extremely as a result of the COVID pandemic. And I think what this means is that there is a ready supply of persons who are prepared to be recruited by syndicates to engage in these operations. Obviously, enforcement is one important aspect of work, and it has to be ongoing. But of course, other work that we're doing in terms of job creation is also very important. And I think in this regard, we are trying to see where our expanded public works programs that protect the coastal areas are, that we also need to find ways to increase those so that you are offering alternatives to people who might otherwise be victims of crime syndicates. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. We will now move on to the next question. And our next question is question number 8. The question is on aquaculture sector contribution to job creation. The question is from LC Bebe and it's to the Minister. Minister?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Globally, aquaculture is an important source of food security and is the fastest growing food production sector with a growth rate of 5.8% annually since 2010. As the aquaculture sector in South Africa is still relatively small, it does have significant growth potential. And the benefits of promoting sustainable growth in this sector include, but are not limited to, contributing to food security, creating sustainable work opportunities, fostering economic development, stimulating rural development and livelihoods, attracting foreign direct investment, and of course, most importantly, sustaining environmental integrity. In recognition of this potential benefits, in 2014, government initiated a program called Operation Phakisa to fast-track sectors of potential growth in the oceans economy. So the aquaculture sector was one of those sectors where we invested and where we developed. Now, this sector, like most economic sectors locally and globally, has been negatively impacted on by the COVID-19 pandemic. The impact on the sector is mainly loss of international markets, particularly for abalone and oysters that had large export markets in Asia. There's also been a drop in sales and a drop in the price of products locally and internationally. With regard to oysters, we have a serious problem because the Chinese government delisted oysters as a species that can be legally imported into China. And I think this was in response to concerns around the fact that oysters are exported live to China, and there were obviously concerns around zoonotic diseases. The lockdowns and restrictions on the restaurant trade and so on in a number of Asian economies has resulted in the price of abalone dropping by over 30%. And in our own local market, we found that the restaurant industry was severely impacted on by a decline in tourism and also by the lockdown. And this affected demand for mussels, tilapia, oyster, trout, and catfish. To address these challenges, we've established a task team made up of industry, key government departments such as DTIC, and the purpose of this task team is to collectively address the short and medium-term challenges. Key interventions that we are engaged in are, first of all, trying to unlock new markets for our aquaculture products, particularly in the European Union through our multilateral trade relations. Secondly, we've got ongoing negotiations with the Chinese government to relist the oyster species. We are trying to reduce red tape and allow the abalone products to be sold in the local market. We are also conducting feasibility studies on acceptance of serving locally produced aquaculture products such as tilapia and catfish in residential institutions such as correctional facilities. If we can do this, this would unlock local procurement. And then, guided by our 2019 marketing and awareness strategy, we are also developing a number of promotional materials that can be flighted both locally and internationally to advertise our products. With regard to question B, I've already said that the aquaculture sector is one of the fastest growing, with a 5.8% growth rate since 2010 internationally. And in our own country, the sector has grown by 9% since 2010. In terms of employment, the sector currently employs about 6,500 people, and over 7,000 metric tons was produced by the sector in 2019. Thank you very much, Honourable Chairperson.
Honourable Chair, not audible.
Yes, Lapskachne.
Sorry, Chair, I just said we can't hear you.
Okay, let me just try again. No, yes, okay. So some say that the next person, if PB is not there, is Honorable A.B. Klute.
I'm there, Chairperson. I was waiting for you.
Oh, okay. Let's start with you.
Okay. No, thank you, Chairperson. Once again, thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your detailed response. And also, it is very encouraging to hear about the proactive measures taken to address the challenges in the industry. My question Honorable Minister, will be, are there any specific programs and interventions to integrate emerging Black farmers, particularly women and youth, in these interventions? Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Bibi. Yes, in the Oceans Pakisa program, there have been a number of initiatives to support emerging aquaculture farmers in a number of areas. Obviously, in the current situation where there is market instability, this would be affecting those emerging and developing farmers the most. And that is why we are looking at mechanisms to try and unlock the domestic market. As I indicated, we are doing feasibility studies on whether recipients would find eating fish products acceptable. And obviously, if we can unlock these domestic markets and unlock government procurement for institutions such as school feeding, correctional facilities, and so on, that would be a very important way of stabilizing the domestic market. I had an opportunity fairly recently to visit a project in the Eastern Cape, and in this area they were actually turning this fish into fish cakes and sausages and so on, and it was very palatable and very well received by local members of the community who were buying from that particular factory. So it's those feasibility studies that we're looking into to see whether this product can be palatable for the domestic market.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lutuli.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greeting again. My question is, what are some of the major policy and legislative constraints that have been limiting to aquaculture growth? And do you believe that your department's plan will be adequate in addressing these to aid job creations? Thank you.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Lutuli. It's a very important question, and there is the long outstanding aquaculture bill that we want to be bringing to the National Assembly this year. I think that is a very important piece of legislation to deal with the enabling environment that you talk about. And I think that that will obviously give certainty and policy stability to the sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Parker.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you, Minister, for your replies. But Minister, are there any plans to invite interested parties to establish abalone ranches along the Western Cape coastline as part of the aqua and mariculture program within the next 3 years? If so, what is the relevant information that can be shared with the communities? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister.
I don't have details of new projects that are going to be set up with me today, but I can share with you that there are already extensive commercial ranches and also small-scale facilities. And if you give me the question in writing, I will be able to give you further details. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure Honorable Bacha will be happy with that. Going into the future.
Yes, I will be, Chair. I will do that. Thank you so much.
No, thank you very much. Honorable members, let me take this opportunity to thank the Minister.
Sorry, Chairperson, point of order.
Yes.
I also have a follow-up question to the Minister.
Oh, but you are not here. You are,
No,
yes, you were there earlier on. But where were you?
No, I was there. We were waiting for Honorable Bibi at that stage.
Okay. Let's allow you to raise your question before thanking the Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Minister. You know, I want to talk to you about the Aquaculture Technology Demonstration Center in Garib, and probably you know about this one. It was actually a brainchild of your party's Secretary General when he was the Free State Premier and funded by the Chinese government. So an upfront investment of 45 million rand, plus another 15 million each year for 3 years, totaling to nearly 90 million rand. So the statement by your department when the Deputy Minister visited the center during December last year, that the 3 million rand facility is just a drop in the ocean of the amount of money that was spent there. Well, maybe it's not, because that's the point. No one actually knows how much money we spent on that misconceived project from the outset. In the Free State, we know it was more politically driven than grounded in economic reality. It's also very difficult to get any official information about the demonstration center and whether it's still operational. I went there during November last year, Minister, and all I saw was, in fact, a damaged main building and very little evidence of fish. Also, in recent provincial planning documents, the national government's annual aquaculture yearbook and an annual Free State business publication, there is no mention of that facility. Now, specialists in fishery research concluded that there's no demand for freshwater fish such as barbel and carp, and the climate in the Free State is too cold to grow them economically. So, Minister, to you, what's the current status of this Garib fishery project?
Once again, Honourable Kluter, this is a new question. So I think but you have asked me this question before, and I have answered you very extensively that there are two projects there. One, which is a project of our department, and that project is still functional. And one, which was a project of the Department of the Free State, which I can't account for. If you go back into the questions for written reply you asked me last year, you will find full and detailed answers to those questions. So I want to suggest you do that, and I want to suggest that those questions that relate to the demonstration center and the partnership with the Chinese government and so on and so forth that fall under the Department of Agriculture in the Free State need to be posed in that legislature to that MEC, not to me. Thank you.
Yeah, that's as far as we can go. That was the last question and the response. And I'm sure if the issues that will be debated further, they'll be raised in appropriate platforms. Now, thank you very much, and let us also take this opportunity to thank the Minister for availing herself to answer questions and deal with our issues. So thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable Delegate, that concludes the business of the day. The House is now adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tata Chair. Thank you.
Point of order.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you.
Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair.
Good night.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair.
Siyabonga
Nyambo.
Siyabonga
Nyambo zitholele zizwe.
Thank you, Chairperson. Siyabonga.
Sibonga kakhulu.
Thank you, Salo.
The rest of the meeting you can track us online at ENCA, and that's tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Sally will have your headlines at the top of the hour. Take care, and thanks for watching.